So which tools or certifications, trainings should someone aspiring to be in the same career that you are in actually learn how to use, right? So the tools, so we'll mention the tools one after the other.
So yeah, so tools, I think to start with, Python is always number one. I don't know, but I'm not really big on certifications. If it works, that's fine, right? But I've never personally had an experience that required me to present a certification for something. But people have different experiences, right? So first thing is I'm big on projects, impactful projects that you can explain that okay, this is what you're trying to solve. There's something called Kaggle where you see a lot of data sets there. Right from day one, the people I know with, let me call mentors at the time, they'll always say that don't just pick any data that work on for working sake. Ensure that you're thinking like you're solving a problem with this data. So problem first, right, and then use whatever tool where you can use to solve the problem.
Okay, so start with tools, right? Okay, so for someone that is just starting out, I mean, I get a lot of questions like that. Okay, maybe I study Yoruba and I want to start data science. I mean, even math is a problem, right? And thankfully, we have a lot of local tools. So saying that you have to learn Python and all that, you have to know this. So I will really kind of play down on that. For me, if you just start now, you don't even know Java. Start with Excel, as in understand, the analytics in Excel. Start from there. It begin to drive your interest. And as you begin to be calculating formulas, if it's becomes something that you feel more comfortable with, you can decide to go into maybe Excel or Math. There are lots of tools. And thank God for ChatGPT. Some of these things, you just generate a sample something for me, a code that solves it, and then room. But basic understanding is also very, very, very important, right? And I'm really big on projects. I lead the Big AI community in data science in Nigeria currently, and our mentorship, we had a 1 month mentorship currently, and it's project-based mentorship. We do a project in 1 month, and our first Friday, we're training 30 ladies. The issue I have with mentors, as I'm going to bring new mentors, because initially I was like, I want just female mentors, but we had over 600 applicants that applied for it, and we just did the shortlisted because we didn't have so much of people to handle and mentor them. But it was project-based, and it was like doing chatbot, ML, or I think you're also part of our mentors, 5 categories. And so the thing is, I'm big on project. If you're going to mentor anyone, you mentor with the project, because when you solve a problem, it is applicable. So if I solve maybe something in finance, because there's always a thought, like that could still be something I want to once it's a process, you're able to apply it in various other, spell or whatever domain it is, and that is it. And so for my experience, the second question, really, okay, so go with tools first. Okay. Alright, thank you.
Okay, so for me, I will not focus on the tools because it all mentioned the tools. We have a lot of tools that you need to learn. But for me, what I will just say is you should, get this certification or get anything that you want to do. You should learn to read documentations, because most of the time you just find yourself trying to deal with something. If you cannot read like your user guide, something like that, it's one thing that you should also learn to do when you want to go into maybe data and anything data. Just learn to read documentation. There are a lot of libraries out there, a lot of tools. You don't have to go to one course or go get one course or go get one certification. If you can sit yourself down, try to read everything, the documents, everything. I'm very sure you'll be able to get it. Another thing I would also mention is also get familiar with your computer. Yeah, it may not make sense. Know your system very well. Something as basic as your RAM, your ROM, what do they do? If you are very familiar with these things, you know what exactly. From there you can pick up on other things. Certification, yes, you get them. You can get 1 million. By the end of the day, you can't even use what you are certified. You cannot even defend the certificate that you have. There is really no point. So focus on yourself, your project, and
thank you.
Okay, for me on tools, what I would say is as an engineer that is entering into the
space of maybe telecommunication, power. Okay, if you are looking towards performance engineering, the tools you'll be looking at is Microsoft Excel. Try to be very good to advanced level, and if you can be able to pick in Microsoft Excel, reporting, get macros, learn VBA as an engineer, okay? But if you are a computer student, I would advise you on the tools like Python, okay? The way you have learned English language as a computer student, please learn Python language, Python programming language. Very important, because that is the basic of machine learning, data analysis with Python. That's just the basic, that's the language it understands, okay? Then, however, if you are also a computer student and you are entering into the health sector, okay? Trauma is big on that. R language, okay? R programming language. Please learn R. R is more preferred in the health sector compared to Python. So, coming to tools. Tools is basically, as my other speakers have said, depending on the problem you want to solve, okay? The problem you want to solve will determine the tools that will be efficient for it. And finally, even as an engineer, you are learning Microsoft Excel. Now we have the Power BI that does a wonderful in data visualization. So probably you want to add it so that even as, but Excel still reigns in the industry, in the telecom and power space. However, if you're able to bring into that Power BI visualization, I bet you will stand out there.
Thank you so much.
I believe I'm speaking to entry level. If you're entering, you want to enter into data analysis. The English language of data analysis is SQL. That is the language everybody understands. Python, R, those ones are French, Spanish. I'm trying to bring you back. I'm trying to bring you. So, if you understand English language, you are exposed to a lot of jobs by default.
Yes.
Because a lot of countries, their official language is English. Even in countries where the official language is English, if you know English language, you can still link it somehow. But then, if you only know French, you can only work in Francophone countries. Do you understand what I'm saying? So SQL is however, if you're a Nigerian that can read and write French very well, that automatically expands your scope. After a lot of jobs, like they say, you must know how to speak an international language. So now let's bring it back to data. Let's get into English language, right?
Yeah.
So if you now know Python, which is like French, you are automatically exposed to a lot more opportunities. We don't need to know Python to enter. To be honest, I've not built a Python-based project, and I've been data analysis for more than 5 years. I know Python, but I've not built like Python that is the engine, no. It's SQL that's the English language. You can SQL is structured query language. So an analyst will write queries. SQL is the language an analyst will use to discuss with the database. So you're talking to the database, trying to get insight from the database. SQL is how you're going to talk to. That's the language that your database understands. Whether it's a Microsoft database, Oracle database, Postgres, whatever, these are popular databases. MySQL, they are popular databases, they all understand SQL. And there are a lot of free platforms where you can learn SQL. It's one of the easiest languages to learn. So before you even get to learning Python and the rest, SQL is more user-friendly, more human being. Select all from. I want to give me this, so select all from. And then there are free platforms. I know I learned from W3 schools. There's a website called W3. It's free. You don't have to install anything. You just open their website. They have an interface where they'll teach you how to select all from. Then they'll now open an interface for you on the web where you now type it yourself. They might say select name from staff base, something like that. So it's very engaging. I always am pro W3 school. So all the young people around me, I've sent them the website, go and learn it. Just learn it first. Even if you're not going to be a data, just learn it for learning sake. Do you understand? Then when you want to advance, when you're done with school's course, you can do data quest. There's a website called Data Quest, and it's also free. They have paid programs, but their basic free program is also very good to get you started. So I learned on the military schools. I got a job. Okay, I'm not talking about our journey yet, but these are basic tools that you can learn. Then for certifications are very good. They are very, very good, especially when you want to work in corporates. Don't let anybody go you. If 4 people present CV, and because a lot of times people who hire people are one HR person sitting in an office. And I'm not saying that it's a certification that will teach you the work. But imagine you submit 100 people have submitted CVs, and then there's one baby in HR that boyfriend is giving issues, and she's looking through the CVs. She might not come down and read through your project. She will just go to certification and scan right. This person has no present. They know what they're doing. It's the truth. That's not the ideal situation. A lot of times that's a practical thing. Even on guys, they will not come down to look at the projects. Yeah, projects are very good. I'm not saying don't do projects, but you need that CV. That certification is very important. You don't have to start with certification. I did not. When I started working, I didn't have any certification in data analysis. But then after I started, I realized that you are in a competition. There are a lot of people. This data analysis has casted. That's why I'm more in the engineering aspect. Everybody's a data analyst. You need to have a wow moment. You need to do something that will make you stand out. And I don't like when I'm in a place and there's a competition and they've gathered all of us together. No, I need to be able to stand out, right? So that's why I started doing a lot of certifications that I did. I recently just, yesterday, I got certified by AWS in cloud data engineering. I do it. I do it. I'm lucky to be in an organization that supports those kind of things. So you go and write those exams, and when you pass, they will give you back your money. If you don't pass, they don't give it. Or if you pass, they will give you your money. So no problem. I'll go and write it, bring my certification, they'll give me back my money. So why would I not write? Why would I not take those kind of, so when you started, write those certifications, they are they rush you. And the truth is, the more you move around, the more you get great opportunities. Then you now work in, that's how you now get projects. So you need to get those certifications and get into organizations that are serious about even doing projects that you learn from, right? So certifications are important, but don't start with certifications, start with learning the tools. You can do those basic ones that people offer that you don't have to spend money on just to build your skill. But after you start working, please do them. Why? Because they will open doors for you.
Thank you so much.
Spoken a lot about certification. Yes, certification is quite important. Now, on my own end, you would need at least the basics of digital marketing first. Then you move into Google Analytics, because Google Analytics helps you to analyze data very well. Now, I'll give you an example of how data is being used in the digital space and how this also is, it actually comes in strongly in data science. Now, every one of us know this brand because they tailed everybody. There's nobody in this Nigeria except you are hidden under a rock. That is how they would not have tailed you. All of us know Temu, right? Who doesn't know Temu, please? Who doesn't know Temu? Who here did Temu not follow?
Watch anything on YouTube.
Who did, as in, did you not wonder how did they get, how did they get to my phone? How in heaven's name am I going to YouTube and I'm seeing their ads? Why am I seeing their ads on Facebook, on Instagram? I mean, why am I seeing their ads all over the place? In fact, you enter the toilet once and you see their ads. So they followed you, they trailed you everywhere. This is how they did it. Data. They got data. They bought everybody's data. Right? Data is oil. oil right now. Data is oil right now. Now, when we're talking about data, it means information, your information, my information, either our emails or our phone numbers. Now, that data is what they got, and then they ran a viral marketing. Viral marketing meaning at every touch point, Google Ads, Facebook Ads, instant programmatic marketing to what they did, right? So they tailored it, bought data, ran viral marketing, and still added programmatic. So all of these things you would find under, you have predictive analysis, programmatic analysis. You would need basic understanding of digital marketing systems, also Google Analytics, as well as also understanding, you should have the knowledge of Microsoft, Power BI, you have a basic understanding of that. But like she has said, Excel is the basic English that you should just follow. Follow suit Excel, know your Excel to the point where you can extract and you can be able to segment your data when you see it. You can be able to use the data to build systems, to build different systems and all that. So,
thank you so much. And finally,
okay, for the tools of being a data professional, so I want us to realize that the industry evolves. For instance, I started with SPSS. That was in the university in 2014, 2015, when I was writing my project. And I was so happy that I could use SPSS that I wrote to some of my colleagues. I wrote their 4 and 5 for them. Most of them for free, more than 10 people. Because that was how I was driven, because of the kind of information that I got from data. So the one tool that you cannot run out of is your passion to solve problems. Because of different information I was able to gather, one information that I gathered during some of the projects I wrote was that there's a disease people get from the hospital, from just visiting the hospital, from touching hospital handbook. I'm not trying to scare us, but I got that from data. Hospital visits. I can't forget that project. So it drove me so much that was how I started Googling. I went to the internet. I studied statistics. Now where can someone who studies statistics work? And this was what actually trailed my path. I started seeing different things. I joined community. Google, as she said, they said they bought people's data. Google is also able to recommend to you. So what you usually browse at, Google will come back next day to recommend that, oh, we just found that you started feeding my interests. That was how I joined Lagos Our User Group. I joined Facebook Developer Circle. I joined ALC, Andela Learning Community. I found Data Science Nigeria on Google. Nobody invited me there. So your passion is important. What you want to achieve, what you consume is going to determine what you will become in the next 5-10 years. So as regards the two, as I went through all of this journey, I started finding those two one after the other. I started finding those two by knowing what people wanted. Is it Excel they wanted? My first interview, I went there. I was saying, oh, I know everything in Excel, until when they asked me question around VLOOKUP. I have never heard VLOOKUP.
interesting.
Then I went back, that day I went to learn VLOOKUP. I even saw that there's HLOOKUP, there's XLOOKUP. I was wow. So I thought I knew the whole of Excel. Before you know it, I learned R. How did I start learning R? Because I joined the R community and I saw that was what they were learning there. I didn't learn R from YouTube. I started learning R from the whiteboard. Oh, this is how they wrote R, and because of the way I was passionate, the way I have solved certain problems, it was easier for me to learn it because I had there's something called design thinking. You want to always solve problems. It starts with that. Have it in you to wanting to solve problems, especially data problem. Oh, I'm seeing this column, I see gender, I see this column, I see sales, I see revenue. How can I, if I was working as a sales girl, I know madam want to know how much we sold today. So these things also work. These things are practical. I stumbled on learning SQL too. And how did I start learning SQL? I got a job into data analytics. I never knew how to write SQL, but when I saw that you raise a ticket to Haiti, and then they will tell you in the next 24 hours you get the data. I started looking for how do they get this data. I need to get to the root of the matter. And I discovered that there's a database and there's a way they speak to it. I learned it and I started showing them, can you give me the test environment? I want to practice a bit. From there, I was able to make my way through.
Okay.
As regards the certification, it's important. If you want to get to the peak of your career, get certified because the competition is not funny. No matter, yes, everybody has so much to offer. You'll be surprised at what people have to offer, but what stands you out? If you don't want to continue to be, please get the data for us. If you want to get to the peak of your career where you are the one sitting at the table and calling the shots, you need to get certified. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you so